Do you know why it's on 2 PFDs and not 1 MFD?
No, I have no idea.
Not so this should have like a moving map on it. I'm not exactly sure why it does.
Is there a toggle?
I know that it's been sitting for a long time.
Okay, we'll try and figure it out. I'm not exactly sure why.
Those,
so when you increase your airspeed, and the tape starts moving up, each one of these bugs will come up. So VY is 74 in this plane, best glide speed is 68, VX 62,
gives them to you, huh?
VR is 55. Yep, your true airspeed is displayed below that. Outside air temperatures, so this is pretty important to check, especially IFR, make sure it matches what the ATIS says so you know your temperature gauge is right. Alright, so if we have the first row of the standard 6-pack, VSI is actually over here on the right. So here's your DG in the middle, where it typically is. So obviously there's no turn coordinator, so how does that work? How can you measure your rate of turn? Well, at the very top here, you'll notice when you're taxiing, if you go to a left-hand turn, you'll have what's called a magenta trim tape. And so when it moves all the way over to this line, that's a standard rate turn. The mark in between the top and the far left is half standard rate. So here you have your heading, and here is the course for the CDI. So here's your CDI, it's set to GPS right now. And so if you want to twist that, here's course right here. I don't know why it's not actually adjusted. I haven't actually tried this one. This one's not doing anything either. Yeah, it's not really working. Let's see. Heading. The heading bug works. To center the heading bug, you can push it. If you spin it around to the right, the plane will turn to the right, even if you spin it past the center bottom. This little pink diamond down here is the wind correction bug.
Wait, that would only do that if the autopilot's on.
Yeah, if the autopilot's on. Yep. For the autopilot, yeah.
Right, so if you turn it to the right, the plane turns to the right, and now left turn to the heading of your choice.
Yeah, even if you spin it
Cool.
more than 180 degrees. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to do some troubleshooting and try and figure out why this isn't on the MFD, which is kind of strange. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out. So this should be on a moving map right now. It should show the position at the airport. Right now it's in reversionary mode.
Where is the reversionary bug child?
Yeah, it's this one, displayed back up. Alright, now it goes. Alright, so that was pushed in, so now it's working right. So now all the engine instruments went over here.
Wait, so if you toggle that again, it combines them?
If, let's say you had a failure, just the screen broke, and you wanted to see the flight instruments, you would push this and it would show up here.
So Bobby, this has come up abnormal. When you normally get in, it should be
Yeah,
like
when
that.
you get in, it should look like
It
this.
should look like that. So
These are the
just
boundaries of the
troubleshoot.
Bravo we're talking about.
Yeah.
It shows them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So the range over here, you can zoom in.
Oh, this is very cool.
You can see where it says track up here. So we're facing south, so south is up.
Does it give you the vertical boundaries of the Bravo too?
It will, yeah. If you want to figure out, let's say you're going to go to Brownfield and you want to know where it is here, so you can just hit the range, and then it tells you up here, 3,500 feet is the bottom of the shelf.
And how
Can
did
you
you
show
move
them
that
how
with
you do
this?
the cursor?
Yeah, I just pressed the range, and that'll bring up the cursor, and then you can just move it around.
Ah, they're changing here. Nice.
Yeah.
And can you show them put in just a mini flight plan?
Yeah, so probably the easiest way to do it, I guess, would be from this side, because this is where the switches are. And then it's kind of like any ordinary Garmin 430, where you highlight the field with the big knob, and you make changes with the little knob. So let's say we want to go from Gillespie to, I don't know, Montgomery. Alright, so now that's going to show up on the MFD, on the map. So that's pretty cool. And let's say we wanted to do an instrument approach into Montgomery.
So is that flight plan just loaded, or do you need to execute it?
Yeah, it's loaded, and you know the leg is active because of this purple arrow here. And then you see that the CDI is there. If you wanted to set the course to something different, let's say we were on a VFR flight plan to Montgomery and the sun was setting. It was really hard to find the airport. Then you can put it in OBS mode and you can line it up with the course.
You can do it in 430 also.
Yeah, you can do it in the 430 also. So all I did there was hit OBS, and now it's like an OBS on the GPS, just like on the 430. And I'll line it up with their runway 281. Now I can find the runway and while the sun's setting. Okay, so I knew that flight plan was activated because there was a purple line connecting KC to KNYF.
I guess you can also tell because this box is even here, whereas it wasn't there before, right?
Yeah, and you can get rid of it too if you want to. Okay, so now let's say we want to load a procedure. It's just the same. So I want to load a procedure, easy, hit procedure. Select approach. I want the ILS 28.
From Barrett.
Yeah. So you could also put the minimums in there, and if you put the minimums in there,
oh, that's nifty.
whatever it is, what's the elevation?
You're not gonna buy
426.
the
623.
right?
623 is actually.
Yeah. So you could put it in there and load it.
They give you a warning when you reach it?
Yeah, and it'll say minimums in your headset. Yeah. It's pretty cool. So,
Yeah, dump pilot can fly this safely.
yeah. So it's set up like that, and let's see. Something that might come up that some of the weird things are, let's say you loaded the approach a certain way, let's say for the GPS into the less speed. So to load the approach, just hit procedure, select approach, RNAV 17, and it starts at Robin, although here they usually start it at a 60. Also, a nice thing about this is you can scroll down and go to different places with the arrow. So if you wanted to look at the map further away from where the airplane was, you could do that. And you could zoom in as well. Alright. So there's Robin and there's a 60, the initial approach fix. But when you're out practicing, let's say you did an approach at Carlsbad, and then you want to do the GPS 17 to get back here, an important thing to know is how to get to a 60. So they might clear you direct to a 60, but you loaded the entire approach. So how do I get to a 60? Well, you just scroll down in your flight plan. So your flight plan is still left over, KC to MYF, although I put direct to KC. Another option is you can invert your flight plan. So I'll just reload the procedure. Start at Robin, activate it. So this procedure starts at Robin, but they say clear direct to a 60. So it's really easy, just highlight that point, hit direct to a 60 and activate it. And now this is telling me how to get directly to a 60 on the CDI. So it's a really convenient thing to have the CDI there. So what if you wanted to do an ILS or localizer approach?
Question before you do that.
Yeah.
In 430, there's a difference between direct enter and direct enter. There's the same thing here. Because if you, from your present location, if you wanted to go directly to a 60, you do direct enter. But if you want to activate the leg from Robin to a 60 and intercept it, you do direct enter.
If you want to activate the leg from Robin to a 60, you do it like this. You would go to highlight a 60, highlight the second point on the leg. So the leg is from Robin to a 60. Hit menu, activate leg.
So
Activate it. And now it's activated.
Gotcha.
From Robin to a 60. Although I don't know if that would be, if it's a shortcut to, yeah, it doesn't do anything. So that's the way you have to do it.
Also, on this, if you do direct, it won't actually do it?
Yeah, let's say it was direct to Jubal. It just disappears.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Kind of strange. Okay, cool. Alright, so the CDI button here is this one. So to change from the localizer to the GPS, you can have two localizer frequencies in. And so those are up here. So to change your nav, it's the same thing. Push to go from top to bottom, just like in the Garmin 430, you push to switch between comm and nav.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Just switch to the one you want. And then this is the standby, and this is the active. So now that one's active. And I think we can do a little test here. So, you know, normally you'd have to listen to it and identify it, and you can do that, but if it comes up with IC, that counts as having listened to it and identified it and identifying the Morse code. So that's a nice shortcut in this. If you just see this show up, then it's identified it for you.
And if it was out of service, that wouldn't show up at all. Huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, so you just don't even identify anymore here. Like, you don't have to listen to Morse code at all.
Yeah. Yeah. If it shows up here, then it's been identified. If you did want to, if you did want to listen to it, you just have to do the same thing. Just nav and push it. And you might want to just have your students do that anyway, just to get in the habit of it.
Yeah. Have you actually tried it when the VOR is down and you see that this does not get turn green?
No, I don't think I have tried it.
Okay.
But yeah, it will happen. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so you could put one in maybe like that I know we can't get from here, like a bogey, and we'll just see if it ever shows up.
So this is at the top. The distance is 15.9 miles. Bearing 324 degrees.
Yeah. So this is from Robin.
Yes.
Does that account for like wind or somehow, or?
I think this is our distance to a 60, and bearing to get there, if you wanted to go there, would be 324. But obviously this is like 16 something, I can't remember. Yeah, so that's it. So just a real important thing is noting the color here. And so GPS, the CDI is purple. VOR1, it's a single line. CDI2, it's a double wide line. So that's something good to know. So you might have an approach where you loaded it for an ILS approach, and you just kept it on CDI the whole time, and you're like, what the crap is happening? I have no glide slope. The glide slope will show up right here, and it's a green ball. Same thing for VNav GPS approaches. Anything with vertical guidance or vertical navigation, you'll have your glide slope will show up here, and it's a ball, and you just fly up. The ball's above the middle, same way as flying to or from the needle.
Barrett?
Yep.
Does the flight director actually give you guidance on the glide slope so it'll pitch down? Does it capture the glide slope? So you follow the indications of the flight director?
Yeah, the flight director will show it too. And
so you're not following the green ball, you can actually follow the flight director down, the bars down?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Is it optional?
It shows both though?
No. So why do you even need the green ball if that's not optional?
Why do you need a green ball if you've got the flight director? Just to show that it's current, maybe, to show that it's valid, like it's interpreting.
I think
perhaps.
Yeah, because the flight director is an interpretation of the autopilot, and the glide slope indicator is actually a signal, like a radio signal or a GPS signal showing up.
Okay. So that's the green thing is the old technology being interpreted.
The green thing is the signal.
Reading the
and
signal.
The flight director is just telling you how to actually
Guidance.
Yeah, because let's say you're like 0.5 degree below the glide slope. Well, that doesn't necessarily translate in positive 0.5 degrees nose pitch up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So you can see a difference between the two.
Well, the flight director is only going to tell you how to fly to get back onto it. It's not going to tell you how far off course you are.
Okay.
It's only going to tell you which way to fly.
So you basically choose not to follow the flight director.
You could, yeah. Yeah. And when you turn off the autopilot, the flight director will still stay on.
Oh, it's just like depending on the autopilot system.
Yeah, so you could fly with only the flight director and not the autopilot. Yeah. So that's nice.
Good practice for when you get to the airlines. Yes, I believe so, doesn't it? The autopilot?
Yeah, the limitations, I didn't fly with the Cap 140, I flew with the Garmin autopilot, so the limitations are a little different. So I don't know what they are, but usually disconnect autopilot at 200 feet AGL.
Okay.
It does, or you do it?
You have to do it.
Yeah, that's the limitation, you have to disconnect.
You must disconnect it.
Yeah. Let's...
Tell them about failing instruments on students, what failures that you would normally have in this aircraft.
Okay, so the two main components for your heading and attitude data is something called the Attitude and Heading Reference System, or AHARS.
Yeah, AHARS.
And so with that, you would just lose you would lose your heading, you would lose your HSI, you'd lose your attitude indicator also. So the only way really to fail it for practice is to dim the screen. Like that.
The whole thing?
Yeah. Just
Or
like that.
you could
Or
cover up.
Yeah, and they also sell
Cover
things that
the-
you could use to
But
cover up
you
like
can't just dim the one like the HS. Well, hang on. So
No, it's like you can't dim one
yeah,
part
you
of your
can't fail
television
one thing at a
screen.
time. They sell these things. Let's say you wanted to fail just this part. Let's say that you want to say, oh, the magnetometer failed, and you don't know.
It looks
what
about
direction
the size of a
was.
Post-it note. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I guess you could put a
exactly.
post-it
To
on
me,
it.
anyway.
Instructor.
From here, from
Yeah.
where I'm sitting.
Rich
Yeah.
people can buy the covers.
Yeah, the other component is the air data computer. And so the air data computer gives you airspeed, altimeters, and VSI.
Yes.
And it's also supplemented by the GPS as well, and the AHARS. But if you're flying IFR, obviously you can't fail anything. If you're flying VFR, then you can start failing and stuff. And so you can pull the circuit breakers for those things. Let's see if I
It does-
Well, like, you know when you're doing the instrument approach, like the one that is DME versus cross radials. Like, so when somebody's not set up their DME, but they're only relying on cross radials. You know, Frank always told me you want to fail that so that they realize that with that DME they won't be able to, for instance, the one into brown, VOR into brown, cross radials and DME. So how do you fail one and have them back up on the
So
other?
there's no DME, so you just use the GPS. So you have to load any approach that requires DME, like any VOR approach that has DME in there. Just load the approach, and that the GPS and the flight plan is your DME.
Does it have a separate DME in it? Just the ADS?
It's GPS in lieu of DME. Yep.
Does it not have a separate one? Which it's supposed to have a separate one? It's got the ADF. Is there not a separate DME
Yeah,
down there?
you can use GPS in lieu of DME. So
Nope.
it doesn't
Okay.
have it. Yeah, something that also is handy.
So that means it is slant range is accounted for
So
by
it
the
can't be
air
used
data
for
computer.
JAA then, right?
I
Or
guess
slant range-
not.
Or inlet slant range is accounted for, right? If it
Yeah,
is.
slant range is accounted for.
It is.
Yeah, when you
Okay,
fly
so-
over VOR, it'll say distance 0.0.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Okay.
that indicates it's slant range.
But if you were... Okay.
Wait, it shouldn't say 010.
We had a question...
It should
about-
say
Well,
1
your
mile.
altitude.
It accounts for that.
But if you're shooting a DME approach that has that's made to be used for DME, right? Like a VOR DME approach, it's not completely accurate then, right? In that case, can you use it for a V? Can you use this
You
for
can
VOR
use
DME?
It for a
GPS
VOR
in lieu
DME.
of DME. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you can shoot a VOR DME approach and take the reading from this as accurate.
Yeah, your altitude is not going to be very high off the ground if you're shooting an approach.
Right.
I mean, what VOR approaches have minimums that are 5,000 feet off the ground?
Yeah.
True.
Those are
Okay.
the fancy ones.
Something that's really handy is
Space
the
shuttle
bearing
one?
pointers. So no data because we can't get it, but we'll switch it back to the localizer.
Okay, so to set up the VORs, you have to come down to the soft keys on the PFD and change it in there to VOR from CDI needle or whatever. Everything is down there. Okay.
Yeah, so here's the CDI.
With a maximum of 2 indicated at one time.
Yeah.
So VOR 1 and the CDI or something, or CDI and VOR 2.
Yeah, exactly. So CDI, and it even knows it's a localizer. It says localizer 1.
No, wait, there's two... Okay, when you hit that, that's the other...
And then it goes to this
That's
one.
the, yeah.
Yeah, so localizer 1, this is green, this is what you're using.
Right.
Mhm.
And there's the DOT.
Yeah. And now here's VOR 2.
So it's always green when it's the one that you're using. Is that safe to say?
Yep.
Okay. So green needles mean that's the one that you're following right now.
So here's your course. Outside is the baro, so when you listen to the altimeter setting, you'll just put it in like this.
Can you show us how you put in your transponder code?
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh.
So here it says XPDR.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the default thing. You know, CDI, just change the CDI. Transponder right here.
Right.
Code. And then you'll just punch it in.
Before you did that, it asked you if you did VFR or IFR. Is that what it was?
Yeah, there's VFR.
Okay.
Standby on
altitude, ground.
altitude.
Okay, VFR.
Just
Yeah,
like a.
ground is the automatic one. As soon as you get going in airspeed,
It's going to switch for you.
Yeah, and it displays that right here. Yep. I was going to say, the bearing pointers are really helpful. So, like, let's say you want to identify something with an intersection, say like Julian VOR, or the localized.
See it?
It's okay. You can do it here, except our procedure is loaded for that.
Something
so you can
else,
set it to the GPS, or you can set it here. It's on the ILS. Oh no, it's not loaded. I guess if it were picking it up, if we could get it from the ground, then it would show up. But this is going to point. Right now, this is pointing to a 60.
Okay.
Bearing 324, so it's pointing to it. This points to a 60. That's something that's really helpful for situational awareness. Where am I in relation to the VOR? I'm somewhere southeast of it. That's really, really nice to have using the bearing pointers.
But you have to select it to show a second, to show that bearing on. Otherwise, you'll just have one needle to follow.
The way to do it is to hit PFD.
Yeah.
Then you have two bearing pointers.
Right.
One is a single
Okay.
arrowhead.
Yeah, bearing one, bearing two. Okay.
And
Yeah,
this
got
one's
it.
double.
Got it. Thank you. What was that wind correction angle in a holding pattern that you were telling me about?
Sure. So you have this little purple diamond right here. And let's say you're flying a hold, say at Oceanside, because that's an easy one, and the wind's coming out of the north, and you're going inbound. So you know the wind's coming out of the north, it's coming from your left, so you need to steer left to correct for the wind. Well, that little purple diamond, if you were just flying inbound on 090D, over to the right, and if you just steer left into the wind, you're going to drag that diamond to the left, and when you put it on the top, on your bug, on the inbound course, you're gonna track and correct for the wind automatically.
That
so the
is
wind
brilliant.
data will show up.
Puts your wind correction angle in.
Yeah,
That's
if you
nice.
hit PFD, wind, option 1 or option 2. There's a couple different ways you can have it displayed. It'll show the wind, so that's also nice.
Is that information coming from like some weather data?
I think it's coming from the air data computer and your ground
from
speed.
the static source.
So it just calculates it on the spot.
Is it there, even if you're doing cross country, is it automatically there, that wind correction bug? Is that there 24/7?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll always be there.
Lovely.
How
So
does it show up again?
See this little?
It's always
purple
there.
diamond right here.
yeah.
So that's accurate or it's always there?
It's always there. It should always be there.
Alright, so it's way at the bottom of the screen. What does that mean right now?
No, it means nothing right now.
Right.
No wind
There's no
data
wind
anyway.
data.
I don't know why.
But it should just be a
It's
little bit
down
off to the side of your course.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's going to show where you're going. So let's say you're flying due south on 180.
Okay, it'll show your ground track. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to show
Yeah.
what your magnetic
So you
course would be.
always
Your
want to
what's
drag
your
it to the
magnetic ground
top.
track.
Right. Okay.
Is that correct?
So
You always
yeah,
want to drag it to the
Yeah.
top.
That on your,
So it's kind of confusing because
No, it's-
everything else
when you get
fly,
it, it
you
sounds
fly
good.
To it, like
Yeah.
I fly to the needle, I
Yeah.
fly to the ball, step on the ball. You're always
Yeah.
moving to that thing. But this one you drag.
Oh,
which is
it's-
kind of weird. So you pull
No,
it
it's good.
into the middle. So
Great.
it's kind of complicated.
That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. So
Perfect wind correction angle every time.
yeah, and then there's something we'll try and buy. It's a PC trainer. It's like $25. We'll put it on the computer, and that's the best way to get used to everything because you can click on everything and see.
So we could
what all
buy
the
that
differences
and put it
are.
on the computer down here,
Yeah,
and then the students can just play around with it.
yeah, and
All
that'd
right.
be the best way to do it. And see if you can plug into ground power too. Maybe
Okay.
come out here with your student and show them a couple things.
Or get your foreign students to purchase it on their laptops or, what am I saying, laptops, on their iPads and practice with it. $25 for a full subscription.
You can turn it to
Yeah.
night too, right? If you fly at night, I'm sure the back screen is just probably...
You can dim it.
Yeah,
Just
dim.
use the
Yeah,
button, right?
so you can dim it by hitting menu.
You can
So
do
when
invert
nothing's
colors.
up.
Isn't it automatic at
You
night?
can do that on the charts. Yeah, it does do that. Like if you have the airport diagram up, yeah, it'll switch it on.
Show us how you get the airport diagram up.
Okay, let me try.
Or the approach plates.
Wait. Yeah, you have to have a subscription to that stuff, so I don't know if you can do it.
I see there's another slot up there above the one with the data card in it, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, there's one here too.
Yeah, there's two empty.
Okay,
there's
so
two
there's
filled
two
and two empty
missing.
ones. I don't know what
One on this side might be
Seems like
the
an SD
XM radio subscription, perhaps.
Yeah, it might be for weather. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Never had to mess with
We'll
that.
have to get into the book.
Yeah, for sure.
This
Here's
doesn't show you the
the
taxiways, does it?
It should, yeah, but I think you have to subscribe to it again because all that stuff gets updated every 6
Isn't that subscribe? Okay, so that's
Yeah, I think you
instrument
have to
approaches
have
we have to
subscription
update
to it.
before
But it
we
should-
start.
Yeah, so it should show it just on the, like on the waypoints.
What about on info? And then,
Yeah, if you have the subscription, I think it would show it.
Did you click map? Is that how it showed up?
What I did was I went to waypoint. So the default, these are like chapters, just like
Okay.
on the 430. Map waypoint auxiliary nearest. Yeah, it's not showing the airport diagram. If you have the subscription to it, it should show it. So I went to waypoint.
still got all your
Starts with
frequencies and everything there. So if you're going into an unfamiliar airport, every single frequency is there, including clearance and
And let's say
departures.
you wanted, I think there's a way to put it in there too.
If it
like-
changes.
Yeah, like right now we don't have any of the tower frequencies in. And I
Oh.
think if you highlight it
And enter,
you
it'll
hit
pop
it'll
in
put
there.
it in the standby.
Nice.
Highlight there. Okay, nice.
You could do that for a radio failure. Like you could put in a frequency over here, hit it, come up, and the student will be like, hello, hello, and you're like, you've got a radio failure. Put in like a VOR frequency or something, pop it up there, and it's like, what do you do if you've got radio failure?
I want UTC -7.
We'll let you put a VOR frequency in.
For daylight savings, yeah.
We'll let you
It
go
might.
to that range.
Oh yeah, it might.
Doesn't
Put
know
in a
anything about
frequency
daylight
far,
savings.
far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
if
somewhere
you
in the settings.
subscribe to weather. Let's see. It does have the weather here.
There you go.
Wait, so we do have subscription? It could still be active. Yeah, give you clouds. There you go.
So how do you find out if the database? It's when it first comes up that the database date will show up, showing you if it's current or if it's out of subscription.
Oh,
Remember
wow.
when we
Yeah, on
first
the screen
when
where
we
it says
first
press
start
the
up?
key to continue.
How do you choose the airport? Like, you just chose Gillespie. How do you choose
You could push this knob on your side, it'll highlight it, and then you can switch it.
Barrett, you've got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Till what?
He's got a student.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I only had a guest speaker for 30 minutes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then it's time for to fiddle in it.
What is Delaware?
In KX.
And KX.
Yeah, so my advice is doing the program on the PC. Also, the Garmin manuals are available for free online, so you can read through those.
I was hoping there would be a tab.
Yeah, it depends on what you subscribe
Gosh
to. Like, you
darn,
can
it
get
does
the-
your
you can
coffee,
get
it does your weather, but it doesn't
Well,
give
no,
you
I
a
just
tap.
noticed that there's for Gillespie, give
Yeah.
you a METAR, but I figured
Yeah.
maybe from Miramar it will give you a tap, but it says none. I wonder why.
Yeah.
If you hit enter.
Yeah. But I would recommend
It's pretty good that you get a meter though.
reading through the manuals, at least know how to file a flight plan, load and approach, and then couple the autopilot.
Can you quickly show us, start doing a flight plan?
Yeah, so
Flight
let's-
plan.
Yeah, so it's really simple. So just flight plan. We'll remove it. We'll remove this procedure too.
Okay.
So it knows where you are. So when you hit flight plan, KC is up. You highlight different fields by moving the big knob. You make changes by moving the small knob.
Do you see any in there that have been stored? Flight plans that have been stored? Seeing this was a local plane from before.
Let's see.
Anything in the library? So do you understand what I'm saying? You can store your flight plans.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know.
So you're not typing in the same
Over and over
same
again,
thing
yeah.
over and over. Keep it in here, and it's valid until somebody deletes it. So whether you have a flight, you can use it, and then Bobby gets in and flies. All your flight plans will be stored up for all the approaches.
Yeah, then you go assist. I'll find the peak.
Well, the difference between this system and Lean is that because it just gives you just essentials.
Oh, it,
Lean is for lean.
so it tells
Lean
you.
assist. Yeah,
It
it'll
tells
tell
you.
when it
It,
gets to
it'll
peak and
display. Go there. Peak. Okay. Yeah. You're not going to want to fly the other airplanes after you fly this one.
Yeah. I don't know too much about the cap autopilot though.
I guess here's one question: if the autopilot's accidentally engaged, how do you guarantee
Disengage?
How do you disengage it for sure?
Yeah. Oh, for
There's
sure.
So you can't use, if you're flying by yourself someplace and you want to use the autopilot, you have to fly from this seat because there's only one disconnect
Oh.
here.
Okay, so if you press that, it's disengaged.
Yeah,
For sure.
Now
Okay.
it's disengaged. The other way to do it is to pull the autopilot circuit breaker.
For sure. Okay.
I guess it's
Also,
one
notice the electric trim. You guys are used to spinning the wheel. Electric trim, very nice. Just
Well, that's only available
small
on the left. Does
adjustment.
it work?
Oh, it's only on the left?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not dual.
Yep, it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another way to
have to
disengage
press
the
something
autopilot is to
Yeah.
use the electric trim.
Yeah. There'll be like 5
gotta
or
push
6
them both
different
together.
ways that
If you push
the...
one, it won't do it. So you got to push them both,
Yeah.
and then it'll
So
turn.
those separately do what?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's just a
Must be
guard.
deployed
Oh, is it?
So
together.
you don't accidentally keep trimming it on accident.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Any
Yeah.
questions before we lose him? Guest speaker?
If you have any questions, just let me know.
What is this being?
Oh, so that, yeah, you can push it and that'll tell you your distance from whatever you have loaded in on VOR2.
Well, right now that's. Oh, just okay. But VOR's obviously.
I have one quick question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
When you have, how do you get the
How do you get the what?
how do you get the little nav screen up on the lower left? Yes, inset, and then okay,
Yeah, and then you can pick what you want.
And
so you
does-
can do it for traffic.
yeah. And does that give you altitude on the traffic alerts as well, like the traffic?
Yeah, if it says like -02, it means 200 feet below.
And it,
Okay.
so it has altitude on it.
relative to you or
Relative to you.
relative to you? Okay, so minus 200 plus
I have a
200.
question. On the 430, when you do nearest, it gives you nearest airports, VORs, flight service stations, all that. This is all showing airports, but how do you go to the other possible nearest objects or
Oh, how do you cycle
SoCal
through the
frequency
pages?
is another one I use frequently. Like when I leave somewhere, I'm like, what is the
Yeah.
closest SoCal frequency?
I think you do it from this one, nearest.
So the airport.
Yeah, and then nearest, this is airports, this is intersections, this is so on.
Oh, okay. There you are. Plus one more hour.
Okay, cool guys.
Is it gonna?
Thank you.
Barrett.
I'm going to scooch back a little bit.
Maybe I should have a look at what kind of.
Yeah, if you have
flipping-
any questions,